Good evening, everyone. Hello everyone and welcome to round 3 here with Invictus Racing League for the realistic performance here around Barcelona, Spain, for what has been a very fascinating season so far for the realistic performance drivers. I'm Jack TM53, your commentator for the season, and of course alongside me, as always, delighted to have him here. It's JPH99, otherwise known as Jordan. How are you this evening, friend?
Good evening, I am well. Obviously the final race of the week with RP, and we've had some interesting races, so I'm sure this one's going to be no different.
Yeah, it has been absolutely unbelievable all the way through this week in terms of Spanish Grand Prix. There's been loads of different events, of course, through Tiers 1 through to Tier 4, different mixed conditions. We've seen drivers having some issues. We've seen a lot of action on circuit, and now we're here on the Thursday. There's a lot to talk about, of course. We've got the drivers just filtering into the lobby at the moment, so hopefully we'll be going in a few moments' time. I just want to give a quick shout out, of course, to the sponsors and partnerships that we are involved with here at Invictus Racing League. First of all, Gridfinder. As I've mentioned numerous times before, and as other commentators within our leagues have said, very wonderful place to go and search for leagues that you might want to get involved with. And Gridfinder, a very central hub where you can go and discover all different types of potential other communities. But let's be honest, at the end of the day, you just want to look at Invictus. That's why you're here. And also to mention the fact that as well, we have Venturi Studio creating those incredible graphics that you see on our thumbnails and social media channels that I'd certainly recommend going to have a watch of. A fantastic partnership to be involved with. It's always wonderful to have a new partnership on board with us here at Invictus. But Jordan, Spain, a track we know very well. It's one that we had a good performance with Tier 4, but obviously I don't want to talk too much about us. But what's facing the drivers tonight in terms of the challenges of this circuit?
I mean, Spain has never been one of the most popular circuits, in my opinion, for sim racers. Obviously, this variation a bit more liked than the previous layouts, but the biggest challenges you got, obviously turn 1, got to be careful on the curbs through there, it will kick you around. Down towards turn 5, that traction zone downhill with the traction is going to be slightly interesting, to say the least. The blind crest of turn 9, get the turning in wrong, you end up in the gravel, or at least a track limit warning. And then the final sector of this circuit, back almost to its old ways. That sort of MotoGP style hairpin left at turn 10, 11, sweeping into turn 12. The exit at 12, got to be careful of your traction again, easy to break the car. And then turns 13 and 14, back to the old school Catalunya layout, flat out right-hander, and then a slight lift into the final corner. And I think a lot of people are liking this circuit more just purely because there's no Nadri chicane anymore.
Yeah, it was always a very finicky final end to the lap, those couple of corners, but we've removed them. Well, I say we, not me and Jordan, literally. The Spanish GP directors have done that, and now it's a 14-corner circuit rather than the 16 that it once was. I want to just quickly run through the driver standings. We haven't talked about them so far this season. There's been a lot going on. Obviously, the technical issues we had last week meant we went straight into the racing. But after his results last week, Ryan leads the championship joint with SFR Martin. Both of those are on 41 points each. Good to see Ryan get a podium last week, finishing in second. Martin's been very competitive this season as well. Cameron Searle is third on 38 points, tied with Ginger Tiger for the same points total, of course. Merckx is fifth after his race victory in the feature. A wonderful drive it was from Merckx in the feature race. He just missed out on a sprint win as well, that photo finish that we had. Owen is sixth on 32. He'll be looking to bounce back after his retirement in the incident that happened last week around Saudi Arabia. But I think at this stage of the season, Jordan, drivers aren't thinking about the championship really, are they? They're thinking about consistency.
Well, especially at the start of the season. I mean, if you want to think about the championship, you've got to get points to start your championship, and without that, there's no point even bothering to think about it. So I think people will think about it more later on. And I will mention as well, there's a slight tweak in the car order after an update as well, which is you'd have noticed last week you had the likes of Owen, ARL, and Cameron in the McLaren, known at the time to be the second slowest car. And you'll see we've got Keza and Scotty in it now, which they shouldn't be if you're running off the old performance chart. However, McLaren have had a tweak in the game, which now make them, if I remember correctly, the fifth fastest team on this grid. So that's why there's that slight change, and you'll see the likes of Owen and Cameron in the Alfa Romeos instead of like the Mercs, the Alfa Tauris.
It's very true. That patch has only just gone live as well, pretty much in the last 48 hours. But what I will say is, for those that are watching the stream, good evening to everybody who's put a comment in. It's good to see you, have you here with Invictus. Do make sure you do give the stream a like. It really goes a long way to helping out Invictus Racing League's visibility amongst other platforms. It's good to have your involvement commenting, and if you are in the comments, do put a prediction in there you think might be on for a good result today. It doesn't even necessarily have to be a race victory, just someone who's going to stand out with a good drive. That's always what we want to see. We are going in 15 seconds, and obviously, of course, the grid is determined by the feature race results last week. So, Jordan, I'm assuming you'll know who is on pole position.
I do know who's on pole position. So we have Stephen on pole in a Ferrari. MDJ second in the Williams. Then we would have had Ronan, but he's not here. So we then got Atsu in the Aston, Fabey in the Haas. Then fifth would be Martin in the Williams, Ginger Tiger sixth in the Alpine. Seventh is ARL in the AlphaTauri. Eighth is Ryan in the Haas. Ninth is Merckx in the AlphaTauri, and 10th is Stex, or Andres as he is on the screen, in a Red Bull. Keza 11th with Owen alongside, McLaren and Alfa Romeo respectively. Cameron Searle 13th, Scotty 14th, Alfa Romeo and McLaren respectively there. Sir Spud 15th, Joe Hamster 16th, Ferrari and Mercedes. Then we have Phantom 17th and Kent 18th in a Red Bull and Mercedes. Unfortunately, two non-starters, Ronan and Simon Palmer, so it's one less Aston and Alpine on the grid.
Well, it's clear. Well, I say clear skies. It looks like it's going to be dry for the sprint race. 11 laps for the sprint, 33 for the feature race that we'll do shortly afterwards. So the drivers will have a few moments to prepare themselves for this track. A staple of the Formula One calendar is Barcelona. It's been around for 3 decades, effectively. Has had a few changes, but the Spanish Grand Prix in terms of Formula One has been hosted in numerous locations before Barcelona, before we settled here at this great Catalonia circuit, populated by stunning moments such as the unforgettable Mansell Senna being separated by the length of a cigarette paper, as it was coined in the UK. And, of course, some incredible wet weather drives from Michael Schumacher in the 90s. But we don't have to think about that, do we, George?
Not right now. And I think another noteworthy performance was Max Verstappen in his first Grand Prix for Red Bull round. I think that was, 2016, if I remember correctly? When the two Mercs decided they were going to take each other out and open the door for everyone else.
Well, we do hope that Merckx quite literally doesn't take anybody out in reference to his name, of course. But we are a few moments away from getting started for this sprint race, and we don't know, of course, in terms of what the weather is going to do for the feature race just yet. We'll see what that does when we get onto the grid shortly. But for a driver on pole position in this sprint in a Red Bull, which is what O'Stevens in, Jordan, how will that affect O'Stevens? Do you think he'll be confident or maybe a little bit nervous to the drives behind?
I mean, O'Stevens in the Ferrari, it depends how he feels around the circuit. I mean, I think if he plays it smart, he'll get a good result. But it's knowing almost when to fight in this league, because I mean the big points come in the feature race. Obviously, top 8 score in the sprint, but as long as you finish, you score points in that feature. So that's really what you want to use this race to set up as a good starting point for your feature race.
Let's hope the drivers can take that to account then. Obviously, the situations we had last week in Saudi Arabia, a very different type of circuit is the Jeddah Corniche track compared to Spain. Much more wider, still quite a narrow path to follow in terms of modern Formula One circuits, but compared to the walls of Jeddah, it's obviously they are much more removed. But here we go then, the 5 red lights are coming on. You got the Ferrari and the Williams on the front row. And the race is live from Barcelona. The sprint looks like a bit of wheel spin for O'Stephen as we come towards turn 1. MDJ is going to run alongside him and go marginally in front. It'll be the last of the late breakers. There's a McLaren in the background, and that's a Williams or a Mercedes in the wall in the background. But MDJ gets that move sorted. He won't know about any of that. Great start for him. He'll be chuffed to pieces. You've got O'Stephen just behind. Bay goes through. Atsu goes through. I think O'Stephen got a little bit crowded out. You've got SFR Martin moving past as well. There's high strategy, of course. We're not expecting anybody to pit. But that looked like a bit of a mess in the background. But MDJ won't care about any of that.
Yeah, it was Joe Hamster who's lost his front wing. Looked like a little bit of contact. Owen is round at turn 5 in the Alfa Romeo. Didn't see what happened, but he's now dropped down to the back of the pack. But yeah, Joe Hamilton, no front wing. It looks like a touch of contact which just sent him into the wall, but I'm not entirely sure on that one. But interesting, 3 drivers opting for the medium tyre in this sprint, as it looks like O'Stephen down the inside of Martin into turn 10. That updated Ferrari livery coming in today, and he just can't quite get that move done.
The celebration livery, of course, for Ferrari's home weekend at Monza this Sunday. I know Stephen's sporting that right now with those medium shod tyres. Don't forget Cameron and Keza also on the mediums. So, what do you see, Jules?
2 McLarens, Scotty and Keza, going side by side through 13 and into 14. Fantastic driving from the pair of them to keep it clean. As Ginger Tiger goes past Stephen, but Scotty getting the better of Keza there.
Good fighting between the McLarens as ARL. Oh, that's contact, and that's Andres round. Andres has been tagged. I think it was Ryan or Cameron, one of the two. I just saw a flash of grey, effectively. But unfortunately, one thing I can tell you is that that car is facing the wrong way round as Andres has gone backwards. You've got Phantom trying to go around the outside. Well, I say going around the outside. He's got no front wings, so getting out of the way as Scotty gets himself back ahead of Cameron. He's got to try and make some headway here on those medium tyres, whilst the rest of the group around him have got the softs. But out at front, it's Fabay in the lead. We didn't see it, but the Haas is in first place. Don't forget, Fabay was right in the mix last week. He was unfortunate in terms of his penalties. He finished second on circuit, but dropped down because of those penalties implications. The yellow flags, one of the Red Bulls are going slow. I think it's Phantom. Not a good start for the on-track teammate, shall I say. But MDJ tracking him very well.
Yeah, Fabay's doing a nice job in the Haas, which is a slightly, if I remember correctly, maybe a slightly quicker car than the Williams. But Merck looking down the inside of Atsu. This is going to be for third. And looks easy done, and is completed by turn 3 by the AlphaTauri, so that's good driving by him.
Good move for Merck. He's got to get on with this. Don't forget, last week's race winner in the feature race at Saudi. He's up to third already, but that AlphaTauri, a very difficult car to drive at the best of times, and Spain is certainly a circuit that won't suit the characteristics of the AT04. Atsu there just under a little bit of pressure from Martin now, who's once again doing this sort of drive that Martin typically does, just settles in quite quietly and gets on with it, and he's in the top 5 at the present moment. You've got Ginger Tiger then, it's ARL, it's Ryan. Those are the points occupiers at the moment. You've got Kent just outside of that, and that's Keza going up to 10th after O'Stephen makes a little bit of a mistake. And is the other McLaren going to go through around the outside? Probably on the best line, and you would expect it, but fair play to Stephen. Did try and hang on to it, but Scotty goes through.
Yeah, Stephen struggling at the moment in the Ferrari around Spain. A lot of traction areas, really. We do know Stephen does tend to struggle with that traction. But he's still in the race, which is the main thing. Is Atsu with DRS back past Merck for third. And he looks like he's going to be a pain in Merck's side for just a few more laps by the looks of this.
It's not what Merck wants, is it? Merck, of course, I've just got the positional graph up as well. Merck up 6 places, so really using his nous to good effect. But he's going to have a buzzing Hornet behind him, not quite literally a Jordan, it's Aston Martin instead. But these two fighting, they're going to just give a little bit of a gap. You can see 2 seconds between the front two and then Mercked in third place. But as we've seen this week, oh, big slide from Atsu. Good car control. Can Martin get underneath that Aston Martin as they approach turn number 10? You can see he's right there with him. He's going to look to the inside line, brakes a little bit later. Actually goes too deep into the corner. Oh, and Atsu just blocking the door off. Takes the position back.
Kent and Ryan side by side up into turn 12. So obviously through 10, 11, and Ryan gets the better of the Mercedes for now, but Kent is definitely looking a little bit racy here, looking for that final points-paying position in the sprint. Also, big news, Cameron Surr came into the pits on that last lap for a new front wing.
That is a shame for Cameron. Don't forget, he was performing really well for bottom gear in Monza, but it just hasn't gone to plan for him since, outside of his sprint race victory last week, of course, as Kent goes back in front of Ryan for 8th position. I was in the middle of saying before, and I'm going to make this point to Jordan and to everyone who's watching at the moment, ERS management is vital around here. You can see that MDJ is right in the wheel tracks of Fabai, but that ERS management, Jordan, it's very difficult to get back, isn't it?
Yeah, around Spain, once you use it, it's unless you go 2-3 laps without using it at all, which obviously is not ideal for yourself. It's very hard to get that ERS back. You're hoping then for safety cars to do a regen, and we both know, and me and Bruce also talk about in like Tier 1, the ERS is a very powerful device in this year's game, similar to F1 22.
A lot of opportunities to use the drag reduction system to get past your rivals. I'm going to cut forward because Fabai is under a little bit more pressure from the Williams of MDJ behind. MDJ looking for another good result. There he goes. He's going to go past the Haas with relative ease, and on the brakes into turn 1. That Williams moves itself into the lead of this race as ARL is having a huge fight with Kent and Ginger Tiger for 6th place. It's like some good racecraft going on this evening so far.
Yeah, Ginger just losing a couple of places there because the DRS being so powerful down that main straight, and the worst part is the red light is flashing, so he is his car is trying to harvest that ERS as much as possible. And he's getting under attack from Ryan into turn 5, round the outside. This isn't a move you do tend to see round this corner. And Ryan's going to get the traction because he can open the steering up earlier. So Ryan now back up into the points-paying positions.
Ryan, great move. Oh, the 2 McLarens in the background. Keza and Scotty nearly coming together on circuit. That wouldn't have been ideal. But Ginger Tiger, 3 places lost in half a lap. He'll have to just dust himself down. Sometimes that can be tough for the drivers psychologically when you lose so many places, but I'm sure he'll be able to get back up to speed as quick as he can. Fabai sticking with MDJ at the front, but Mercked has started to make a little bit of an inroad into the front 2. That gap down to 1.5 seconds. You have Atsu in 5th position. Let's go on board with him. We'll just follow him. Closing the back onto that Williams of Martin, but I don't believe he'll be close enough into turn 1, and he isn't. But I'll tell you who is close enough, it's Kent, and he's up to 6th.
Yeah, pass AR with DRS. And for anyone who is new to IRL and new to the Realistic Performance League, if you're wondering why are the McLarens fighting their teammates, they are not teammates. They might be in the same team car, but Scotty and Keza drive for different teams in RP, because the way it works, cars get allocated based on the driver's tiers and abilities. They change week on week, but you can be from 2 different teams and be in the same manufacturer car. So as it is, Keza and Scotty are in the McLaren, but they are both driving for different teams.
Yeah, Scotty driving for Venturi, and of course you've got Keza driving for Guess Who's Back. But both of them having a good fight on circuit, both of course on different offset of tyres, the mediums and the soft compounds. I think in terms of the performance of those soft tyres, there's a couple of comments that have come in. One particularly from Renz saying that the soft tyre is probably going to cook soon. What do you believe, George? Do you think they will be starting to struggle at this point, as one of the McLarens, that's Keza, just goes past Ginger Tiger, and you've got a yellow flag for one of the Red Bulls?
Looks like Andres Atsu also passed Martin for 4th as well down that straight. But in terms of your tyre question, it very much depends on the car because with unlike Eco Performance, the realistic performance, each of the cars has their different tyre wear stats, so some wear it more than the others. For example, the Ferrari I know is not a great car on tyres. Possibly why O'Stephen may have taken the mediums. So the softs, as far as Eco Performance is concerned, softs will go the whole 11 laps. With no real issue. But for realistic, it very much depends what your car is like on tyres.
Yeah, that's certainly true. But at the front for Bay, still not giving this up. It's really, really tense between these two. They're both pushing like crazy. I just saw MDJ have a huge wiggle out of turn 12. Gathered it up quite nicely. Hasn't lost too much time. But you would expect that both drivers trying to manage their battery as best as they can. You've got the rear wing open on for Bay's Haas. He is really closing that gap down. Will he be close enough into turn 1? Not quite. He slots himself back in. Merckx is not too far away. He hasn't made the gains that he had done earlier as Martin goes through on Atsu. Atsu runs a little bit deep there as that goes on, and Kent goes back past ARL. So Kent making some moves here during this race. But it's quite tight battles going on around the whole circuit at the moment, but it's just a case of who's going to be in the right position when it comes to the final lap.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's ARL and Kent side by side through turn 5, a little bit of a touch, but nothing too major. And the AlphaTauri goes back up into 6th place. This is for the tail end of the points here in the sprint for RP. And ARL doing a good job. He's managed to clip DRS off of Atsu as well, so that's going to help him down towards turn 10. But it's good to see that we've got a slight mixture of tiers here within this top 8. Within the top 10 as well, a mixture of tiers 1, 2 and 3.
Yeah, really good mix between everyone. I'm watching Ryan and Kent absolutely side by side. The championship leader trying to go around the outside of turn 13. Great move from Ryan. Puts himself into the second to last points paying position. But he is going to be under pressure from Kent, who's got DRS. He's very close proximity to the Haas in front of him. Atsu back ahead of Martin. Venturi, Kent trying to go around the outside, but there's not quite enough space there. I was going to say 5 drivers, but the 2 McLarens are also there, so these 7 drivers really having a good fight, and that's Martin off the road and out at the points.
He's lost an M plate as well on the right-hand side, so I'm not sure what's happened there to Martin.
It's a shame, really, isn't it? He was running well, but unless he's hit the wall on the inside, I can only imagine he's gone over either the inside curb or he's gone way too far out to the left and just spun him out.
Yeah, it's a weird one, that's for certain. I mean, the right-hand end plate would say he's either had a bit of contact or he's hit the wall on the inside. So, definitely a weird one for Martin, but not what he was really looking for.
No, not ideal in any way, shape or form, but we are going on to the final lap of the sprint race here. MDJ still leads, but you've got Fabay closing that gap down. Look at the gap closing. He goes to the inside as MDJ trying to fend off the Haas. He just about leaves enough room, but slams it shut at the same time. Ryan also up to 5th, goes past ARL. Good move in the right position at the right time. You've got Keza in that group with Scotty. That's a great fight. We're going to see that run all the way to the end, but Fabay has got to put the pressure on, and you think realistically from this corner forward there's probably only one last big opportunity to overtake, isn't there?
Yeah, and now it becomes a question of who has saved their ERS wisely, who has more to burn. That's the big question. Obviously we won't reveal that because people might be watching and telling, but down towards turn 10 we go. DRS open for Fabay, but he's not close enough.
He is pushing, he's trying his utmost. I'm looking at the gaps everywhere else. It doesn't look like there's quite enough of a small margin for an overtake towards turn 10, so we'll just follow MDJ. He's almost home. He's got 2 corners, this one completely flat for the Williams. Just a downshift into the final corner, and MDJ rounds turn 14 and wins the sprint here with Invictus Racing League. It's Fabay, another great result for the Haas driver, and Merckx takes 3rd. There has been a bit of chaos at the final corner. I don't know if you saw any of that, Joe, but Ryan has come home in 4th position.
Yeah, not quite sure what happened there, but good effort by Ryan to end up in 4th. Atsu 5th, ARL 6th, Kent 7th, Scotty 8th, and Ginger 9th in the end. So, I mean, it looked like, there was no people off the circuit, so I can only assume that it was fairly respectful racing.
Okay, hopefully that is the case. We're just watching Joe come across the line. There we go, the last of the classified finishes. Everybody finishing the sprint this evening. We didn't have that last week at Jeddah, but we have today, so that's always a good sign. But MDJ takes his first victory of the season for season 17 in the Realistic Performance League. Let's run you through those classifications on screen. You've got MDJ in the Williams victory for him, good result. For Bay taking second with Merckx getting another podium. Ryan in 4th, Atsu in 5th of ARL 6th. Both Venturi drivers of Kent and Scotty taking the last points for the sprint race. You then have Ginger Tiger and Keza rounding out the top 10 with Martin, Owen, O'Stephen, Sir Spud, Cameron, Andres, Phantom and Joe Hamster all finishing the race but not scoring any points.
Yeah, good racing overall there.
It was nice, nice lot of very close battles, wasn't there, on circuit, and we hope for more of the same, surely, in a moment.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the feature race a bit longer, and strategy becoming a little bit more key because normally, well, in equal performance, obviously normally you'd have extra tires, but in RP, obviously you only get the one set of mediums and the one set of hards with whatever other softs you may have, courtesy of this sprint style format.
If for those drivers that have used the mediums, Jordan, that's really going to affect them in this feature race now, isn't it?
Well, they get a set of mediums for the sprint, and then another set for the race. But what happens is those tyres that are reserved for the sprint, which I believe, if I remember correctly, is 2 sets of softs and a set of mediums, then get returned to Pirelli, which means all they have left to play with is a set of mediums, a set of hards, and I think 3 sets of softs because they don't use any for qualifying.
Yeah. So for those drivers, they're going to have a good think about what terms of strategy. Now, I'm sure me and Jordan would be able to tell you what the ideal strategy is, but whilst the drivers are preparing themselves, it's probably best that we don't reveal that, just in case any of them are watching. But there were certain strategies that we'll talk to you about during the race that certainly worked in the tiers 1 through to 4 on Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday that we certainly identified. But for MDJ, good victory. Can he take the feature race victory, George, do you think?
He definitely has the pace to. It's just how quick Merckx can get past that Haas of Fabay. Because I think you have to feel that Merckx is definitely the firm favourite if he can get to the front to win this, even in an AlphaTauri. And with RP, he won't stay in that AlphaTauri forever. He does have to have another car at some point. It tends to be a maximum of 2 in a row you get of the same car. So every chance that for round 4, Merckx might end up in a different car. So people have to make use of him being that AlphaTauri.
Yeah, every point counts and every opportunity to score extra points against championship rivals will be vital. And Merckx will know that. He has to try and combat that with the slowest car in the F1 23 game. Not to say it's an awful car or anything like that, but relative to its challenges around it, it is a car that's perhaps not best equipped for certain circuits. You'd argue that Barcelona could fall into one of the weakness tracks for the AT04. But we are looking like we're going to have clear skies. Looks like a little bit of haze, a little bit of light cloud for this one. We haven't got any reports about any further rain. That's not to say it might not come, but we always, of course, like a little bit of drama here in Invictus Racing League. But we shall see shortly. I'm guaranteed. I'm very excited for this, John. I'm looking forward to this race.
Yeah, absolutely. I can reveal that Ryan still leads provisionally after the sprint. 46 points now for him. Martin stays on 41 with Merckx up to 3rd on 39. Cameron Searle 38. And Ginger Tiger level with him on 38 as well. That's the updated top 5 after the sprint.
So Ryan clearly in front at the moment, which is great news for him. It must be I believe it's the first time Ryan's led a championship with Invictus Racing League. So although it's early days in the season, that's still a really good confidence booster for the current Haas driver to have. Whether he'll have that car next week is another matter, of course. If you're wondering where we're heading to next week, it is over to America in Austin, Texas, around that circuit, which is a very challenging, demanding circuit at times, especially that first sector for drivers to factor in. But Barcelona, very different makeup around here. It's especially quick. It's got its slower corners as well, but they're much more tighter turnaround in terms of lap time compared to Austin. We're still waiting though. We got hopefully less than a minute to go before we go racing. I just hope that we don't have any... there we go. So we've got the 5 red lights coming on. We've got the Williams on the right and the Haas on the left. Who will make the best start? And the race is live for the feature here with Invictus Racing League. Looks like a good start from the second row from Merck, but he gets boxed in by the 2 front runners. And Fabay will have the inside line. A little bit of lag from Ryan as he looks to the inside, but Fabay is on the inside line. He goes through using those soft tyres to good effect. MDJ's there in second, Merck's third. Atsu also on the soft tyres is in fourth. Ryan lost a little bit of ground in turn 1 and 2, but he's still in the top 5. That's important for him. Kens is trying to go around the outside of that on his medium compound tyres. Ryan also running those as well. It's very tight into turn 5, but so far, so good. Nice racing from everyone. Little bit of contact though.
Yeah, Joe Hamster into Keza. I think Keza was a little bit slow on entry to turn 5, and it caught Joe Hamster out by surprise. Luckily, it looks like there's no real damage for the Merc. As I hear Jack, you've got more action up further.
Yeah, more action. Cameron just got a little bit boxed in there through the turns 7 and 8, which is really tight. He's on the inside line of Ginger. He's got Martin, who's down there in 11th and 12th after his shenanigans in the sprint race. So you got Ginger Tiger on the inside of Cameron. He's trying to go around the outside, little bit of contact, and that's 2 cars round, 3 cars round the background. Oh, that's for Ferrari of O'Stephen, who's been caught up in that as well. It's chaos, and that is a safety car. No fault of anyone's own in particular. It is just an unfortunate accident, and that's a couple of drivers also in the pits taking advantage of that safety car that's just come out.
Yeah, wow, that's interesting. They say no one's real fault, obviously, just a slight slide from one car and a slight domino effect thereafter. One thing to be careful as well, Jack, coming into the pit lane, there is a bump on the pit lane on entry. If you go slightly too much to the left-hand side as you enter the pit lane, it will kick you back out to the circuit.
Nightmare for Cameron. As Jordan was saying that, we were just watching that Cameron had to double stack behind Owen because they both went into the pit. So both Alfa Romeo cars caught up in that. Of course, they're not teammates. Oh, wait, they are actually. Both of the bottom gear drivers in the Alfa Romeo, which is quite convenient for this evening. They'll be able to share some details of how that car is performing around here. So a nightmare for bottom gear. But at the front, for Bayi, a great start for him. Got himself in the lead. Now he's got to use the soft compound tyres early here. He's got MDJ and Merck behind him on the mediums. Then it's Atsu on the soft tyres. So he's got an opportunity here to pull away. But he's got to hit the running hard. And realistically, Jordan, he has to make sure his safety car restart is bang on, so he doesn't have to worry about MDJ behind.
Absolutely, and Mercked as well, very close behind. But looking at strategies, obviously, for the 12 people that have not yet pitted, only one of the 2 of those on the hards of Martin and Spud. Multiple soft and medium runners being MDJ, Mercked, Venturi Kent, Ryan Ginger and Phantom, with the soft runners being Fabay, Atsu, ARL and Scotty. Those that have pitted, Joe Hamster, Owen and Cameron have all gone for the hard tyres, maybe looking to go to the end. ARL did do 30 laps on the hards yesterday in Tier 1. I'm not quite sure what Joe Hamster and the Merck team are doing going on to the Inters. It looks pretty bright skied here at Barcelona.
Do you think that Joe has accidentally hit the one D-pad touches too many? Because next to hard it's intermediates, isn't it?
Yes,
And
it would not surprise me.
I'm just going to confirm this just to make sure there is no issues with the graphics. Yes, Joe is on the intermediate tyres, so we'll assume he's going to be back in at the end of this lap. We've also got to make sure that the drivers who've already pitted catch the safety car. They should be fine. Owen's coming round turn number 5 now, and the Ferrari of Sir Spud's just left turn 9, so that shouldn't be a problem. But Joe will be a question mark, especially as the fact that he can't really catch up with the intermediates.
Yeah, unless they rapidly turn into softs and you have a really soft, slick tyre, which doesn't tend to happen nowadays.
No, not at all, not at all. But hopefully Joe can get that sorted and get onto a set of hard tyres. As you were saying though, Jordan, I was thinking in terms of strategy. 30 laps is a very, very long time to run on those harder compounds. Do you think anyone who has pitted, which obviously we have to take Martin and Spud out, so you're looking at Owen and Cameron, would you say either of those would be candidates to make those tyres last to the end? It'd be very difficult, wouldn't it?
Difficult, but doable. Very, very doable. I mean, ultimately, it depends on what other things happen in terms of safety cars, and also what tyre they actually started on, because I didn't quite catch what tyre they started the race on. If they started on mediums, they wouldn't have had a choice but to go either soft or hards, because you don't have a second set of mediums.
No.
So it would not surprise me if they've had to go for the hards, just purely on that basis, to give them a similar strategy to what they had before, so they can use newer softs come the end of this race.
That's a critical point to include in this as well for those that are watching currently. If you're just tuning into Invictus Racing League, we are on under safety car conditions, a sort of 3 or 4 car contact. No one's particular fault. It was just a sort of cacophony of events that led to a couple of cars with broken front wings. No one's retired. We've got all 18 runners, which is fantastic to see behind Bird Mylander in that Mercedes safety car. But it is a good point that you raised, George, because those medium tyres, as we've seen in some of the tiers this week, it's not the best race tyre to be on. And with the safety car out now, it kind of sort of mitigates any advantage that the medium would have had initially over the hards.
It does, as we know, that the hard is obviously the longer longevity tyre. So a safety car is in this lap, so has just caught up to the back of the pack.
That is a late call, so the safety car is in. Bay has slowed everybody right down. We're riding on board with MDJ, who's on those medium tyres. He's got to try and stick to Bay, who's gone. Good restart from the Haas. That's going to help him towards turn 1. He's got about half a second of gap. That'll start to close. You can see Merckx and everybody else, ARL right on the rear wing of Kent for 5th place, but I don't think he's going to be close enough for a move, and sure enough he backs out of that one. But Bay got the start he wanted. He's got to make those tyres work. That's Ginger Tiger and Martin side by side rubbing wheels, but Martin is in 10th position. That last of the top 10 point scorers, not, of course, in terms of Invictus Racing League, those points all go all the way down to 18th place, but good start for Bay.
And Joe Ham's down the inside of Cameron at turn 4. Joe came back in for a new set of soft tyres. Keza up into 13th. So how hard will Cameron fight this? Because Joe will have to come back in the pits at some point as he gets boxed in behind O'Stephen. Almost looking to go 3 right down towards turn 7. Thinks better of it, which is probably that wise idea. And he does look to go round him up to turn 9. Oh, a bit of a tap from O'Stephen, but gets away with it. And Joe up into 17th.
Absolutely. That was a little bit of a love nudge from Joe. Well, rather received from Joe by
side by side, Martin and Phantom looking to go side by side, and Owen looking to... Whoa, has a big snap of oversteer coming out of turn 12, trying to take advantage, and stays behind Phantom for now.
Great car control shown from the Alfa Romeo, but he's got a good run out of the final corner. The problem is no DRS on this lap. It's not active yet, but Owen is not caring about that. He's using the battery to get himself past Phantom. He's going to be on the inside line approaching turn 1. Comes down to who breaks later. It's the Alfa Romeo who moves into 11th place. Meanwhile, at the front, Bay has just clicked a second clear, or he's hovering around that point. He's got to try and break that DRS toe as soon as possible. That is going to be vital for his race.
Yeah, if he knows if he can get rid of MDJ's DRS, MDJ will come under attack from Merckx. I think this is the second lap after safety car, so it's not going to be enabled until the next lap anyway. Keza goes past Phantom for 12th, that's into turn 7. So Phantom going backwards in that Red Bull. But Scotty looking around the outside of ARL into turn 10.
That was an interesting move from that one. Didn't quite pull off, but it looks like Scotty in these early phases just seems to have that McLaren hooked up where it needs to be. Of course, the McLaren is naturally faster than the AlphaTauri thanks to the update. There you go, Jordan. DRS now enabled. So Scotty will want to try and get on with this. He wants to do it before DRS. He gets the chance to activate it. He's alongside the AlphaTauri going down this long straight here at Spain. He's on the inside line. Just got to brake a little bit later. He tries. Fair play to ARL, keeping his car on the inside, but Scotty has the line. He's got the move done. He's into 7th place, and now can he go after Ryan, who's only a second in front of him? He's got to watch out for ARL though, fighting back.
And this is why we love RP here in IRL, as Owen looks to go round Martin. Down towards turn 5, side by side. Owen looking around the outside. It won't be the first time we see this move. Tries to get the traction. Does get the traction. They're going to be side by side into turn 7. Owen just about clears him in front. But yeah, this is why we love RP and IRL. Scotty, a tier 3 driver, ARL, a tier 1 driver, scrapping it out for position. And it looks like it's an equal performance league.
That's always what you want to see, isn't it? Loads of cars. That's a big dive from Andres up the inside of Keza. I think there was a bit of contact there. Keza won't be pleased. Cameron takes advantage and has a big snap of oversteer as he does so. That is Keza having to fend off Joe. Yeah, Keza will be very annoyed with that. Let's cut back forward just a little bit. I want to see in terms of how close. Yeah, there we go. Merckx trying to make a move already. DRS active. He's gone past MDJ. MDJ trying to also defend from Atsu. It's a bit of a tough one for him, but Merckx has got one clear, and he's only got one car in front of him. But can he make inroads on that Haas car in front of him that's got one step softer compound than what the AlphaTauri has currently?
It's the one thing that Fabay needs to know. He needs to get away from Merckx here. Really utilise that soft tyre, because when Merckx gets on the soft tyre later this race, he will be charging up to the back of that Haas if he's not careful.
It looks like that gap's already coming down, and I'm looking to see whether Merckx has DRS down the straight. And there you go, the rear wing wide open, so a nightmare for Fabay. He hasn't done as much as what he would have wished to have done, but there's still a long way in this race. We're only on lap 8 of 33. There's still a quarter. Well, we've just completed a quarter effectively as ARL goes by on Owen for 9th place, but Owen is not giving this up at all. On the hard tyres on the inside, they're going to be side by side into turn 13. This is great racecraft between the two. You got Owen and ARL. Owen not giving any space at all. He drops ARL to the left hand side. That's going to promote an opportunity for Martin to go through with DRS. And can they now try and close the gap back up to Owen, because he's going to be a sitting duck towards turn 1. Here comes Martin to the inside, 2 places. Can he get in 2 corners? Not quite. He has to slot him behind, but that was robust from Owen in that Alfa Romeo.
Yeah, Martin having a big slide through 2 as well. Lucky to keep hold of that 10th place. I mean, that was good from Owen. He attacked ARL for position into turn 10. And managed to keep...
That is contact, and that is ARL in the wall. I couldn't quite make out. It was an awkward angle for the cameraman, but unfortunately for ARL, he is down there, and that is Keza, one of the Red Bulls. That's Andres who's gone round. They were all together on circuit, and Keza's got stuck on the inside of turn 5. He's trying to dig his car out. He's not going to have much time to get that car digged out, otherwise he's going to get stuck, and that'll disqualify him.
If he can get the reverse going on here. Oh, no, he's just run out of time.
That is such a shame. I'm
sure he was so close to getting that out then as well.
That is a great shame. Kez is gone, but I tell you who isn't gone, it's Merckx. He's on the inside, looking at Fabay. Oh, closes the door. Does Fabay. He's not giving this up, but that has just brought MDJ along. And fair play, these three have actually broken away from Kent and Atsu and Scotty. It seems to be just a little bit of an implosion whilst we were watching Keza trying to dig himself out. Bit of an implosion in the top 5, and they've spread out a little bit from 3rd to 4th.
Yeah, well, see, Kent had to get past Atsu earlier on, And he's managed to drop the Aston 9, so I'm wondering if Atsu's struggling a little bit with his tyres. Because he was looking quite quick at the start of this.
Cameron and Martin very close together for 10th and 11th place. This is the closest, literal closest fight on circuit. You see Cameron almost less than 2/10 behind the Williams. DRS wide open. Got to be careful of running wide at turn 9, does Cameron. He doesn't want to pick up a time penalty for exceeding track limits. He's going to go round the outside of Martin, trying to follow his teammate Owen. The car in front, he's going to be on the inside for turn number 12. That's a solid move if he can hold it, as a Mercedes going slowly. They're then side by side through 13, but Martin gives it up, and that is Kent who went round.
Yeah, I'm going to say probably just losing the rear of the car on the exit of 12, as we've said before.
Martin will go flying back on past Cameron, so all that hard work from the Alfa Romeo completely gone, and Martin is back in front of him.
Yeah, and I could take Hazard's not very happy in the driver's chat after that. It looked like 2 Red Bulls involved in incidents within the space of 2 corners, which isn't the most ideal situation.
No, it's certainly not something that Christian Horner would want to see. Look at these.
Looking around the outside of looking around the outside of Ginger, and Cameron and Martin going at it.
Yeah. I was following Martin and Cameron, that's why I had a little chuckle to myself. These two are absolutely scrapping in the midfield. It's really good action to watch between the two, and Owen also trying to put the overtakes on Ginger Tiger for 7th place, as Jordan mentioned. Ooh, a little bit of rear locking from Owen. Look at that car control. He managed to get slowed down, but it's the thing with F123 that people have to remember. You see cars sliding into the corners, and Jordan will be able to explain a little bit more about why that happens.
Yeah, I'm just going to quickly watch Mert, because he's in DRS range for Bay. We'll just make sure he doesn't make a move. I think he's a little bit too far back. He does try to fill the mirror, but thinks better of it. Yeah, all it is with F123, if you have ABS turned off as Kent gets past Joe Hamster, if you have the ABS turned off, what happens is if you come down the gearbox too quickly, it will lock the rear tyres up, which does happen in real life. You see it in real life F1. And yeah, it basically just locks the rears, and it basically just makes the rear end almost like pulling the handbrake on your car for a brief second, and it can cause the car to slide going into the corner, and it's why you might see a spin on the entry of a corner.
There we go, some good driving facts from Jordan there. You've got Owen right behind Ginger Tiger for a place in the top 7. Owen looking especially quick on those hard tyres. On the inside, he brakes a little bit later. That's too wide, and that's a prime example of what Jordan was just telling you. The back end stepping out on the brakes, went down the gears too quickly, and the Alfa Romeo gained a position and then lost it just as quickly as it gained it.
Yeah, I think Owen tends, as Scotty comes into the pits.
It's about right, isn't it, for a pit stop for the soft tyres?
Yeah, I'd have said he probably wanted to go at least another couple of laps longer, I'd have said, if he's going mediums. If he's going hards, then probably about the right time. But it looks to me like Owen uses that rear locking a little bit to try and make the car turn. Some drivers do tend to try and utilise it a little bit to increase the turning on entry to corners and kind of get them straightened up on the corner quicker. So maybe one of Owen's just trying to do a little bit of that every now and again. On that occasion, it didn't quite work.
Yeah, maybe on another occasion you'll see. I mean, Owen is now past Ginger Tiger, and his teammate Cameron is right behind. There's a yellow flag. And that is for MBJ, who has gone off somewhere around turn 9. He's had a big moment somewhere, and he's off the back of the front too.
I think it was turn 9. I wonder if he's clipped the grass on the entry, because they do run it quite tight on the entry tonight on the outside. I wonder if he just clipped the grass. They just sent him off wide. Yeah,
they might have done. But Merckx, of course, still very close to Fabay. But this time it looks a little bit more of a foregone conclusion as Atsu pits. And Merckx takes the lead of this race. Perfect for his strategies in front of the Haas driver. I was going to briefly mention that Scotty is probably in a really good position for his undercut. He's coming around turn 13, but he's got 5 seconds clear track in front of him before the next car of Sir Spud. So you would expect him to come out in front of Atsu anyway. but I'd imagine that gap is going to be a lot larger than what it was when they pitted, and sure enough, Atsu is overtaken by Scotty, but having said that, that gap looks a lot closer than I expected it to be.
I'm pretty certain was actually not ahead of Scotty.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It's an undercut.
That's actually an undercut overtake by Scotty there.
Yeah. You are spot on, Jordan. Thank you for correcting me on that one. So, Scotty, fair play to him. That has worked out really well, and he's got a nice buffer of a second and a half pretty much at this stage of the race. You can just see ARL and Andres in the background there, still yet to pit, of course. But credit where credit is due to Fabay. He's stuck with Merckx. He's got DRS. Will he be? I don't know if he's going to be close enough. He's going to have a look. He's got the DRS wide open. He's closing that gap a lot more than what we expected. Here comes the Haas up the inside. Merck's going to try and defend as best as he can. They give each other a tiny amount of room, but they survive it. And Fabay, have to say, that is a good racecraft to get himself back into the lead of the race. Merck will be a little bit less than pleased with the squeeze.
Oh, there's a spinner, Martin.
Oh no!
Turn one. They were side by side with Kent. Not quite sure if there's any contact or not, but round goes the Williams. Phantom, I must admit as well, doing a good job in that Red Bull. He is fighting with Joe quite nicely at the moment, so interesting to see how that one works out.
Yeah, doing a good job. Obviously, his debut season it is for Phantom. He's not raced with Invictus before, so it's nice to see him fighting with the drivers here on circuit, and hopefully he's getting a lot of knowledge from fighting with a seasoned veteran such as Joe, and Kent just in front of him as well. He'll be learning quite a bit this evening and for the rest of the foreseeable races. Will Fabay pick this lap? The answer is no. He's carried on again.
Interesting strategy from Fabay. So here comes Merckx, pulls out to the side, standard time for an overtake, and through he goes.
Ryan in the pits on the medium compound tyres, so that is an early call from the other side of the Haas garage. So they have got Ryan, the championship leader, in the pits. I see he's going to come out. I would
hard tyres he's on.
Yeah, I imagine it, because there wouldn't be any other reason to go for a different tyre, would there, at this point, unless you're trying to do a two-stop. But he's going to join just behind Atsu and Scotty, who's just overtaken to Spud.
Yeah, it's going nicely this for Scotty. Up into 11th behind O'Stephen now. The Ferrari man will have to pit though. I mean, I'm not quite sure how long a pit stop is around Spain. Obviously in previous races, obviously with the safety cars that we have had in previous races, it's been hard to recalculate exactly how much it costs you, but it's fair to say Scotty's probably looking up towards possibly like top 6 area, because we know the Alfa Romeos are potentially going to the end of the race on those hard tyres.
Whether they can pull that off remains to be seen. Fabay has carried on for another lap, so Fabay definitely deciding to try and play the long game here. Cameron right behind his teammate. I'm imagining this is going to be a regulation move for position. It is indeed. Cameron goes past Owen for 4th place, and that one critical point to note here in terms of whether the two Alfa Romeos do decide to try and make this to the end of the race is that they're still both within 10 seconds of Merckx, who leads this race. And if Merckx, you would expect, of course, for him to pit, average pit stop around here is typically you're looking anywhere between 19 to 22 seconds, just depends how your time goes, as ARL picks up a time penalty. That's a good position to be in, but we know how powerful having soft tyres are at the end of this race.
I mean, just even fresh tyres around Spain is a massive advantage. But it depends how well the Alphas work together, because obviously if Merckx doesn't have that DRS advantage anymore, he's giving that to Fabay. So if the Owens have a massive twitch through 11 then. Fabay actually goes into the pits now. So this will be interesting to see where he filters out how much time he loses.
Yeah, it will be. So he was 23 seconds clear of Scotty, who's just being overtaken by SFR Martin for position. And I'm looking at, there's a yellow flag out there, that's one of the Ferraris, so Stephen who's gone round. You're right, Jordan, there's Phantom blasts past Kent for 6th place, and Fabay is trundling out of the pit lane now, and as you can see, he's comfortably clear of Scotty. He's probably, once his tyres are up to temperature, he's going to be about 2 seconds clear, I'd imagine. So my prediction in terms of 19 to 22 seconds, bang on the money for a pit stop round here.
That's about a 20-second loss, I think, there for Fabay. We have another yellow flag that looks like Andres has gone round and
safety car.
He's gone round, taking his front wing off, and the safety car has been called out once again.
So a second safety car of the evening in an ironic twist of fate.
And
it's perfect
this
for
works
Andres.
for Merckx.
Yeah, and it's the other thing is Fabay will be the crossest man in Spain at the moment because he's just pitted, and he'll have lost all of that time. And you're looking at the drivers. You'd expect him to go in front of Ginger Tiger, Phantom, and Kent. But it's a question mark over whether Owen and Cameron can jump out in front of him if they decide to pit. I mean, Merck's in the pits, MDJ's going to go in, and Cameron and Owen have already worked this. They're slowing down, although I don't think Ginger Tiger will be too pleased about being balked by Owen into the pits.
No, he won't be too happy about that, as the Alfa Romeos will be double stacking. How much time will Owen lose in the pits? Not a lot is the answer.
That has worked out well. So those drivers bolt on a new set of softs. Fabay, fortunately, has got out in front of MDJ, so he's ended up second. So credit where credit's due. Fabay's put himself in a good position, and the safety car only now picks up Merckx for the lead of the race. You've got MDJ in third. Scotty has took advantage of this. He's up to fourth. He obviously pitted earlier on a sort of regulation pit stop. So he's there. You've got Cameron up to fifth now after making that pit stop. You've got Atsu, Ryan. It's very well poised, isn't it? It's finely balanced.
Yeah. It's interesting, though, because Cameron Searle, a bit like the sprint race, which was 11 laps long, he's gone on to the medium tyre for the rest of this race. Whereas almost everyone else, obviously bar Fabay, who made a regulation pit stop, came in and chucked some soft tyres on.
We did see, though, that the drivers just from this race alone, admittedly there were heavier fuels at that point, they did start making their pit stops around lap 13, 14. So you'd expect the soft tyres to make it to the end. Cameron must feel more confident on the mediums because his teammate Owen's on the softs. This is very finely poised. The one who's the odd one out right now is Ryan in 7th place on hard tyres. But that is also a very good race tyre around Barcelona, so who knows?
It is, but I just wonder if the early stages, because obviously the softs are going to be about as fresh as they get, whether those hard tyres are going to lose too much time to begin with. I'm not quite sure what's...
Joe's in the
Joe
pits.
Hamza's coming into the pits. So he's coming on for a set of soft tyres, going to sacrifice track position for a new set of tyre that is going to be softs. And I know Stephen also comes in for a set of softs.
Yeah, he's followed in as well, so Stephen definitely going for those soft compound tyres. IRL's going to get a chance for the AlphaTauri to get back into the heat of this race. Will he emerge in front of Joe? That's going to be close down the main straight. Very close. They're racing into corner, and Joe, well, has gone off the road, and ARL goes back in front thanks to that.
Yeah, why is that from Joe? I mean, obviously on the safety car, because you're coming out of the pit, you're kind of racing to the safety car line that is within that pit lane. So Joe, well within his right to race to that line almost with ARL. But obviously kind of taking advantage of going off wide, so returning position. The good thing to do by Joe there.
Yeah, he doesn't want to pick up an unnecessary penalty. Don't forget, Joe had a bit of a disaster last week thanks to a disqualification for technical issues that he didn't see. A good evening to those that are in the chat. There's quite a lot of comments that have come through. Again, do like the stream. It means a lot for Invictus Racing League, and it's promoting the visibility of what is a league and a community that is very kind-spirited. As I say that, the safety car is in this lap, so all of the field bunched up together, which is fabulous to see we want our drivers having a good race to the end. We're riding on board with Fabay, who's following very closely to the back of Merckx. This restart for Merckx, similar to how Fabay's was earlier, is important. He's got to get the launch right, and if Merckx can, with the speed and ability that he has, you would expect him to go clear. A little bit of weaving from the AlphaTauri left to right. He's going to wait probably till mid-corner, potentially. Is he? No, he's still weaving. He's not gone. He's going to try and catch Fabay. He's going to take it to line. Now he goes. And the AlphaTauri gets a great launch. That's exactly what he needed. And Merckx is going to be comfortably clear. There's a yellow flag, I think, just for a slow car out of the final corner. But he's got the lead as Merckx. He's got Fabay and MDJ. That's Cameron Searle up to 4th. He's had a good restart. Cracking overtake on Scotty into that top 4 place, and you got Atsu on the mediums. Then Owen, the first of the soft tyre runners, already making work to get himself past Atsu. Shapes for a move into turn 3, but that is going to be difficult going round 4. Hello, around the outside from the Alfa Romeo. Brakes a little bit later. He's comfortably clear and has the traction, and he's into 6th.
Yeah, welcome to Sprint Part 2. As Kent and Phantom battling out. Phantom coming out on top on that battle for now. In that Red Bull, he's making good use of that car advantage as they head through turn 9, and Johansson gets past Sir Spud up into 13, sorry, as well. Owen and Scotty still fighting it out. And Owen into 5th.
Yeah, good move from Owen. Had to just brake a little bit later to maintain that position. That is Kent round. Not quite certain what's gone on for Kent, but it's not been a good restart for him. Joe and Martin still fighting for position. In fact, Martin's going into the pits, so a problem there for the Williams. That's a shame for Martin. Seems to have commentated cursed him this evening, unfortunately, as Ginger Tiger goes past for 8th position. So action all over the circuit, but critically, and credit where it's due, Fabay and MDJ have rocketed clear, and the top 3 are as they were before the safety car in their own little bubble of their own. And that's Martin out.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure why you'd retire from the feature race of the RP. I mean, he had to get a new front wing, Martin. But obviously, if you finish, you get points, and obviously you get your reverse grid position as ARL's round at turn 5.
Oh no, it's just not gone well for ARL. Get yourself out of that gravel trap. He has done. He resumes in last of the runners, but then goes off again. Owen past Cameron, his teammate, for 4th position. Now, can we see the pace of the Monza race winner? Can Owen show what he can do on those soft tyres against the 3 cars in front of him? He'll try and drag his teammate along with him as well, because this will be really good points for the 2 teammates as Merckx sets a new fastest lap of the race. A yellow flag out there for one of the drivers. It's actually Martin's Ghost that's just pulled off at the exit of turn 4.
Yeah, there's Phantom. Ginger past that too. Phantom down the inside of Ryan. And Ryan will just about hold on for now. Phantom looks down the inside of 3. Ryan ends up getting a little bit wide, probably trying to give him a bit of space, and the Red Bull up into 9th place.
Good move from Phantom. Those soft tyres really coming in handy. Ryan is just going to have to fend for all he's worth and hope that those soft tyres fall off quicker than anybody else expects. But Phantom showing well. Good to see a debutant season, getting his elbows out and trying to do something a little bit different. He's right on the tail of the Aston Martin of Atsu, so really making that Red Bull work. He's right in the wheel tracks of the Aston Martin, but DRS, of course, the drag reduction system is enabled, and Atsu's got the benefit of that, but goodness me, how close was Phantom to that rear wing?
Yeah, and at the moment, Phantom looking to make use of the grip of the soft tyres whilst he still has it, because obviously Ryan and Atsu on hard compound tyres compared to him, so he should have a traction benefit. Down the line straight we go.
Can he make an overtake of Phantom? I'll tell you who can. Ginger Tiger has. He's already through. And let's have a look back to Atsu and Phantom on the inside. Breaks a little bit later. Side by side through turn 2. Atsu goes over the curbs. And what a move from Ryan. That was a great bit of opportunistic driving from the Hassies back into 9th place. And Atsu will be a bit frustrated that that played out the way that it did.
Yeah, just went a little bit too deep, and as we say around Spain, you don't want to get on those yellow sausage curbs, and that's what he done there. He meant you just couldn't get on the throttle because otherwise you will spin. So it was smart from Atsu, even at the expense of an extra place.
So here we are then, lap 24, 9 laps to go effectively, and we aren't far away from the end. But credit, again, I keep coming back to this, credit for Bay. He's driving fantastically. He's keeping within DRS of Merckx, who's leading the race at the moment. He's just got to keep that up and hope that come the end of the race, those medium tyres will have the advantage over the AlphaTauri's soft compound tyre. Whether that looks after its tyres a little bit better, we shall see. If it's anything to go by within the race pace of the real life. Oh, that's Merckx off into the gravel. He just about got away with that on the exit of turn 2. And that is MDJ going through. That looked like there was a bit of contact or ghosting went on, and MDJ's into second, and Faber's left the session. What's gone on? He's disconnected.
Disaster then for Faber. And yeah, he had to check up. I'm not quite sure what happened there. Just watching it back on the stream. But Faber no longer in his car. Hopefully he can get back into the car so he can finish the race, because I'm not quite sure how the rules play out, but I'm pretty certain if you're not in the car when you cross the line, if you haven't done a certain percentage, then you do not get classified as, I think Kent's gone round at turn 4, so his day just getting a little bit worse.
Oh, that's a disaster for Bay. I was trying not to commentate his curse, and that's exactly what's happened, although in my defence, I'm not responsible for anybody's internet connection in this league, only my own. But it's Ginger Tiger in 6th place. He'll be the next car looking to try and get Faber's Ghost. Whether he can rejoin, we shall see. Phantom there in 7th. MDJ, though, look at this. The sprint winner trying to be the feature winner. He gets through into the lead. And we saw in the earlier rounds of the season so far, as Andres picks up a time penalty, that Williams is very quick in a straight line, and sort of slow speed corners is quite nifty as well. This is going to be a challenge for Merckx. He's got to try and use all of his racecraft and experience that he's got from racing in the higher tiers to get back in front of that Williams. The 2 Alfa Romeos running in 3rd and 4th positions. That's a yellow flag that's out for the retirement of Kent's car, no one else in particular. Ginger Tiger going past Faber's Ghost, and I'm assuming Phantom will follow him through, and he does indeed. So that's into the top 6. What a great result this could be for Phantom, and he's looking to try and go one better as Merckx now puts the pressure on. There's action all over the circuit.
Yeah, the question is, if MDJ and Merckx start fighting, can the Alfa Romeos use that to catch them up? Obviously MDJ will fight this quite a lot. Obviously the top 4, all tier 1, all know how each other drive. They've all raced against each other this season. They all raced yesterday, but here comes Merckx alongside. Standard manoeuvre down the main straight. MDJ will tuck back in, and we'll have a look for his next opportunity. But it won't be coming through 3 because the yellow flags are out for the retiring Kent.
Yeah, it won't be certainly ideal for MDJ, and that's important to note as well. The battles that are on circuit, MDJ and Merckx and Owen and Cameron all fighting in tier 1. They know how each other race, so they'll be able to use their strengths and weaknesses accordingly. Well, just following with Scotty, who's running in 7th place. He's got Ryan, who again is just showing that the hard tyre has got that versatility to keep up with the medium shod runners. Fortunately, at this point in the race, and you hope with a couple of laps to go, admittedly, Scotty's done 14 laps on those mediums. It's going to be a challenge now to keep the pace with those compounds towards the end of the race. You got Phantom in the top 5. He did get past Ginger Tiger. We briefly mentioned that. But MDJ is looking to try and make this a re-swap for the race lead.
And he's well within the zone on time gap for this to work. Opens the DRS, and here comes the Williams. Joe Hamster gets past the Faber box. MDJ gets close, but he's not close enough to send one down the inside.
It's always good racecraft, that, isn't it? You don't want to make a lunge like you would see maybe with someone who's a little bit more inexperienced than MDJ, clearly showing his craft there. Just backing out of it, didn't want to go for a lunge, and especially with a few laps remaining, Don't want to try and play all of your cards this early on. Owen and Cameron still running line astern for Alfa Romeo. They'll be chuffed with that. And Phantom hasn't quite pulled away from Ginger Tiger, so that fight isn't over yet either. Ryan still hounding the back of Scotty for 7th position. And then the next clearest fight after that, it's O'Stephen and Joe Hamster for a spot in the top 10. So we will cycle forward to this ever fascinating and intensifying fight that we've got for the race lead. With 5 laps to go, Jordan, what is your mindset here? Oh, I thought that was a wiggle for MDJ, but it turns out it was just lag, fortunately. Otherwise, that could have been a huge accident. But in terms of your mindset, what are you thinking as we cross over to lap 29? What do you think? Is it about positioning, or is it about ERS management, or even both?
I think it's a bit of both. It's working out which lap do you want to be in the DRS down that main straight, because it's easy to defend into turn 10 against that DRS, but in order to do that, you then also have to keep some ERS handy for yourself. So it's a little bit of both right now. It's working out where you want to be at what lap and making sure you've got the ERS to pull the plan off.
That's going to be absolutely vital. So many calculations the drivers have to make on circuit to get the right decisions. I noticed the swapping again of Joe Hamster and O'Stephen for that last spot in the top 10. Both of those two having less adventurous races tonight than last week, which is always good to see. But these two having a good fight, and I'm sure they'll be talking about it post-race. You've got Ryan hounding the back of Scotty now. And whether it's a case of, is it an inevitability at this point that Ryan is going to get past Scotty? Not on the brakes into turn 10, however. That McLaren still has enough grip and grunt down the main straight to keep the Ferrari engine power Haas behind it. Don't forget, of course, McLaren used those Mercedes power plants. We cycled back to the front of the race. You've got MDJ closing down, Mercked again, but he's just sitting behind him. And I think tactically, Jordan, at this point, MDJ, you feel, is not going to try and make a move until 32.
I think it might be as late as 33.
32 on to 33.
But yes, I think that's what MDJ is looking for here. He's looking to size up Mercked. He's probably working out where he's quicker as well on circuit, so he knows at what points of the circuit will he have to use that extra bit of ERS to defend. With a yellow flag, it's Scotty.
And he has crashed, and that's a safety car. Safety car right at the end of the race. He's lost it. Scotty was in a fight, wasn't he, with Ryan before? So I'm not going to say whether he's lost it by himself or there was contact between them, but that is a shame for Scotty. Both Venturi cars out for this evening. That promotes a couple of drivers up through the field. Now, obviously we've got a safety car. That means no more DRS, and the whole plan that MDJ would have had to use ERS and DRS on last few laps, that's gone. That plan is out the window. Both drivers reset. There will be no
MDJ in the pits.
I was going to say,
I'm not sure this is the right call.
How far in front of Phantom is he? Phantom, no. Phantom's coming down straight now. MDJ's not even been serviced by the pit crew. Now he's in. He's going to get overtaken by Ryan. He's going to get taken out by Atsu, potentially. Let's just watch as he comes out of
the pits as well.
And
so Spud's got a drive-through for speeding under safety car.
That is not ideal.
I do wonder, because with that, obviously, you're meant to serve within 3 laps, and that is green flag laps. You can't follow the safety car into the pits. Now, if the safety car comes in at the end of lap 32, which it wouldn't surprise me if it did.
It also wouldn't surprise me if it came in at the end of this lap either.
It could also come in the end of this lap. But it could be quite hard for Spud to serve that. But the game may give him a time penalty for not serving it if the chance if he doesn't get 3 laps to fully serve it. I'm not quite sure how the game works.
It might also disqualify him because of the fact that he doesn't. So that'll be unfortunate for Sir Spud if that's the case, because it's not his fault that he can't serve the penalty. Typically what would happen in Formula 1, there you go, safety car in this lap, John. So you have a fascinating fight up at the front. Mercked, Owen, Cameron, Searle, all in the top 3. But don't forget, Cameron on those medium compound Pirelli yellow walled tyres. Phantom, Ginger, Ryan will be feeling quite happy about this, just with his hard tyres, because he will be probably have the best set of tyres of the top 6. MDJ, though, he's going to have 2 laps, Jordan. It's going to be difficult, but Barcelona is a track he can overtake on, and that tyre advantage he's going to have over everyone could be massive enough for it to work, to get in the top 5 at least. And Merck's gone.
Yeah, Merck's gone early to... Obviously, last time he went right on the line. He's caught Owen napping a little bit, just over half a second. Ryan picks up 3 seconds on the exit of the last corner. It's not ideal for him.
He's already started. He's already started, MDJ. That's 1 car down. He's up into the top 7, and he's got a little bit of time to try and catch up to Ryan. And don't forget, those hard tyres, 16 laps old. Look at the grip that the Williams has through turn 3 compared to Ryan. He's going to try and look for a move into turn 4. He gets on with it straight away, up the inside. How many places can this Williams make up? He's going to look to the inside of Ginger Tiger at turn 5. Ginger trying to fight on, but those soft tyres have nothing to give. This is on. This could be. I mean, he could end up finishing second and it was worth nothing, but it's great for a fight watching this, isn't it?
It's good to see the overtaking. Phantom all over the back of Cameron Searle as well, which is going to be an interesting fight. Merck now up to 7 tenths ahead of Owen.
Phantom trying to look for a first ever podium with Invictus Racing League. What an evening he's had so far. He's been really competitive. At the moment,
it's between Andres and O'Stephen, and Andres up to 10th. O'Stephen just losing the back end a little bit through 10. Joe Hamster up into 8th. Obviously, he came in for a newer set of softs as well.
Look at MDJ, he's already within half a second of the cars in front. This is the final lap of the race. Merck lead. Look at Cameron trying to go around the outside. The 2 bottom gear drivers side by side. Cameron's all over the grass. On the inside of the AstroTurf, there's contact. Phantom trying to go through, and MDJ is out of the race. A disaster for the Williams. Merck won't know about any of that, nor will he care. He's got over a second and a half. Owen third, Phantom, but that was all. A couple of cars into one corner just didn't work.
Yeah, it looked like it went to go 4 wide. And, I mean, 4 wide round any track is never going to end well. Unfortunately, a little bit of jostling, and it'll be interesting to see how people make of that incident. And we've got a spinner of Andres at turn 8.
Oh, nightmare. We don't want to see contact. The 2 Alfa Romeos are still giving it. And that's Owen off into the infield. And Owen goes off the road. He's going to lose a spot. It's gone off the road completely. It's all gone wrong on this final lap. What drama we've had here. Owen's out of the race, but it's Merckx who rounds the final corner and takes a fantastic race victory. Cameron is second, and a podium in his debut season for Phantom X911. It's Atsu fourth. O'Stephen with 5th place. What a result for the Ferrari. Ryan in 6th position. Joe Hamster 7th. Ginger Tiger 8th. For Bay, Andres, Spud and ARL are your race finishes. Take a breath.
Yeah, that all kicked off in the last lap. I mean, when you hear about IndyCar and NASCAR green-white checkered racing, that's about what you get. So, yeah, what a result. And I can't believe the 2 Alfa Romeos, they're teammates as well, making a bit of contact in turn 10. I think because of the spin that Owen has, Joe Hamilton picks up driver of the day. Because of Owen's spin, the tyres overheated, and he didn't have any grip then going up the hill towards 12.
What an absolutely chaotic last few laps we had there. And once again, safety car in the last few laps of the racing this week has caused a lot of drama, but it's Merckx who comes out on top in the AlphaTauri, so a good set of results for him this evening. Cameron taking that 2nd position, so his strategy paying out on those medium tyres. Phantom in 3rd position. We also have Atsu in 4th. O'Stephen, I mean, if that's a credit to O'Stephen for staying out of trouble, well done to him to get a top 5. I would say that's got to be one of his best ever finishes within Invictus Racing League. Do correct me if I'm wrong on that, Jordan. But I'm looking forward to these interviews that we're going to have shortly.
Yeah, and we might only get one in because the Merc Cameron Phantom all on PC. I know Cameron's got a PS account. I'm not convinced on the other two, so I've requested some write-ups from Merc and Phantom, just in case.
Well, we do hope that we can get some write-ups. If we can't get anybody in for the interviews, I'm sure Jordan will take great pleasure in being able to write about or to rather talk about the comments that are being made from the drivers. I think, for driver of the day, Joe Hamster was giving it by the game, but has to be noted, what a drive from Phantom to just keep his nose clean, make some really good overtakes on circuit. He had a great day today.
Yeah, it was a fantastic day. I mean, he used the Red Bull to great effect.
Yeah.
I mean, dare I say it, we'll probably give him very much so a lesser car for his next event, but sometimes you got to take the advantage when you have it, and he absolutely done that tonight.
Yeah, he did. And, there might be some people thinking, well, it's just using the Red Bull. At the end of the day, you can only drive the machinery that you've been equipped with, and it takes a driver of some skill to be able to secure a podium against the quality of drivers that we have here with Invictus Racing League in partnership with Grid Finder and Venturi Studio, of course. But we've had a thrilling and captivating finish to that race. A late safety car caused by one of the Venturi drivers of Scotty hitting the wall at the inside of turn number 4. Brought out late drama. You had MDJ flying through the field. Then there was contact between 3 or 4 cars. Just didn't work out. Sadly, MDJ ended up into the wall. Game over for him. His gamble in the end not paying off as a result. There was so much action that we're going to try and get through. Not just, of course, talking about it from the drivers' comments, but trying to digest what we've just seen in that race. I mean, this just shows you once again, Invictus Racing League, this is where the action is. If you're watching, you're here, you've not raced with us before and you're curious about it, get signed up, come and have a look at the Invictus Racing League Discord area. Wonderful place to go and check out. Load of back catalogue of races that you can go and view. All of this week's races, of course, streamed live on YouTube, so you can watch those. You can see from tiers 1 through to 3. Have a check of those out. Of course, don't forget tier 4 also, if it isn't broadcasted, but a very good event to be involved in as well. Now, I am delighted to say that Cameron has joined us, so hopefully, Cameron, you can hear me. If you are, just make sure your settings are allowed to be shared. And just to confirm, Cameron, can you hear me?
Yep, loud and clear.
That was a bit of chaos at the end, wasn't it? Tell us about that.
I have to apologise, though, and it was a bit of a miscommunication. I was watching my mirrors for MTJ and Phantom, and then didn't realise how close I got to him. And then I think just all hell broke loose that last lap.
Because you made that decision to go with the medium tyres. Your teammate decides to go for the soft tyre. In fact, I won't carry that point on because I have a feeling that Jordan's going to ask that question. So I'll let Jordan ask that question. But that race, did you expect to be running P2 and P3 when the safety car? Were you ever tempted to maybe pit on the how MDJ did? Were you tempted to pit for soft, or were you just thinking I'm just going to stick with this?
Not that late, no.
No.
With how close the cars behind were, I didn't think we wanted to risk it, but then MDJ did as well, so no idea what happened there.
Just seemed as if, as Jordan said, it seemed as if 4 into 1 just wouldn't go. Jordan, I'll hand it over to you in terms of questions for Mr. Cameron.
Yeah, congratulations, Cameron, on another podium for yourself this season. I'll come on to the split of tyres in a minute, but the first one is still tyre based, but Obviously, you and Owen went to the hards quite early on in that race. Was the plan originally to take those to the end? Because obviously ARL did take them 30 laps last night in Tier 1.
It certainly wasn't on my side. I can't speak for him. I was going to pit. I think he was going to follow me in the next lap. But no, I was planning on lap 19, softs to the end. But in the sort of safety car mix-up, it flicked to mediums. That was actually accidental.
Right, okay, so that was the other part. Obviously, because the sprint race you went for mediums. Obviously, we were wondering whether you went mediums again in the feature, because obviously you went medium in the sprint. What was the decision behind that sprint decision in that case?
So far from the cars I've driven in RP, the tyre wear is far worse than the wear in Equal. So so far I've just been selecting the harder strategy and hoping it works.
Back to you, Jack.
Oh, thank you, Jordan. And good insight from yourself there, Cameron. I mean, it's a podium. It's a great result to have. I know you're obviously a little bit frustrated with what went on between yourself and the miscommunication with Owen. So, maybe a couple of points have unfortunately gone by the wayside. But hey, this is a long, long season. Next week we're heading off to Austin, Texas, the Circuit of the Americas. How's that as a track for you, Cameron? Do you like it? Are you a fan of it, or do you hate it?
Bit of both. It can be fun, but as soon as the race starts going against you, it's horrible. The other note is you can't really get a setup that works for the whole track. So it'll be interesting to see what everyone else goes with. But
dare I ask you a little bit of insight in terms of what setup you might be tempted to run?
It depends on the car I get given, but it'll probably tend towards the higher downforce to look after those tyres.
Fair enough. Thank you for indulging my cheekiness there, Cameron. I appreciate that. But in any case, congratulations on the second place in the feature race. It's a really good result for you, despite the carnage, and all the best for the next race.
Thank you.
So that was obviously from Cameron. Appreciate you joining us. Jordan, have we got any comments from the rest of our podium finishers?
We do. So Mert saying that the sprint race went well. Glad to have been able to gain a few positions to make the main race easier for himself. Race was quite simple for him. A few safety cars, but he was able to manage them well. Congrats to the rest of the podium. And Phantom, really, really happy with his race. First points and with a podium. Couldn't be happy. You're starting P17. He was able just to finish the race, but with some good luck and consistency, managed to get his podium. So it's great racing with everyone involved. He hopes to continue the pace next week.
Well, that is the comments from our podium finishers. Are there any other comments to highlight, Jordan, outside of our podium gang, or is that?
No, I think that's. I mean, in terms of some provisional standings, Mert will provisionally will take the lead of RP by 3 points to Ryan. Cameron Sorrell further point behind that. Ginger Tiger 9 further behind that, and Martin 10 behind Ginger Tiger. But Merck's going from 5th to 1st tonight, a change of 4 places.
Well, there we are. If you are fascinated in getting involved in Invictus Racing League, just look at how close the top 5 are in the championship after 3 rounds and 6 races to have mixed in with all of that. What a race and sprint and feature races we've had this evening. It's been full of action for the Realistic Performance League here with Invictus Racing League in partnership with Gridfinder and Venturi Studio. We will be back next week. The live streaming action will begin on Monday for round 4 of the season at Austin, Texas. That will be for the Tier 3 League. Of course, Tier 4 also running that evening as well. And Tier 2 and Tier 1, Tuesday, Wednesday. And RP will be back, of course, same time, 8 o'clock British Standard Time on Thursday. But for the final time this evening, it's good night from Jordan.
Good night.
And it's good night from me, Jack TM53. And wherever you might be in the big wide world, have a good one. See you next week.